Well, let's get reaction on this. And of course, we are joined by legal analyst Elton Hart. Elton, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Quite the announcement, this, isn't it? Right? You hear there that the president is intending to set up this commission of inquiry to find out why there have been delays in prosecutions of TRC cases. A step in the right direction? What's your initial thought upon hearing the news?
For me, this is actually sort of half disappointing that they want to set up a commission of inquiry to actually ask what has happened with the TRC cases, because it's all out in public spaces. The TRC cases was stopped well somewhere in 2004. It's 20 years later. You want to have now a commission of inquiry to inquire what? I would think that they should actually have a cabinet meeting and ask amongst them in cabinet, and then have a parliamentary setting and ask amongst them, why was the TRC cases stopped? Not go and have inquiries from other people. They must go to the origin of the problem.
Why do you think that there have been delays? I mean, if you were to really think about, there's the need, obviously, as the president views it, for a commission to understand why, and that, I suppose, was why the commission would be set up. But in your view, why do you think we have seen delays?
The delays is clear, and it's out and out. It's political interference in the criminal justice system. There's no other answer. That's the simple answer. Political interference, criminal justice system, because you cannot tell a prosecutor, lead prosecutor, the national head of the prosecuting authority, to go and ask a police commissioner if he should prosecute a case. A police commissioner would sort of have been involved in the investigation of an offense, and once they've completed the investigation, they hand it over to the prosecutor to say, I'm going to make a determination. Is there sufficient evidence that proves there's prima facie evidence that an offense was occurred? You can't say the public prosecutor, the national head, and back then it was Vusi Pikoli who was pursuing these cases when he was stopped in his tracks, to say you need to go to a multi-departmental team to decide which cases to pursue. That's a prosecutorial prerogative. So there already, and there were certain meetings, political meetings, where Vusi Pikoli was back then called to these meetings to be told to either report to this and they will decide, and later on he was told stop it. So for me, that interference, and it's unfortunate that we would have thought it was people from the previous regime and the special branch, which is also commonly referred to as the Brixton Murder and Robbery Unit, that would have interfered to this level with these cases. You'd find these people in government positions, currently still, some of them are there, government positions, sitting in parliament, that interfered with these TRC cases.
I mean, part of the thing is once this commission of inquiry takes off, there's the timeframes of how long that commission will run for. There's the costs implications of a commission of inquiry. And then at the end of all of it, the recommendations that are made by whoever it is that the president decide will head up that commission. Those recommendations, are you confident that they will get us anywhere?
They won't get us anywhere. And the problem is, these people that stop the TRC cases, some of them are still in the mix, in parliament, in government positions, holding senior positions in government. So if these things crop up, obviously they would put a spanner in the works again, because they've done it in the past. They've showed us they've done it in the past. And now we look at, in 2 years' time from now, the ANC will have its national elective conference. Then President Ramaphosa will be removed. Then a new president will be chosen. So there's a new guard, and then you might have a new director for public prosecutions, because the president can appoint, hire and fire the NDPP as per the constitution. Do you think that they will leave somebody there that's going to actually pursue these matters and pursue it vigorously so that we get to the bottom of the story? Yes, it might help with uncovering some of the truths, but you can't afford people who refuse to participate in TRC. You gave them, through what President Mbeki did, you gave them a backdoor in, where you allowed Bulelani Nuka back then to exercise a discretion that is like a backdoor to the amnesty process that was handled in the 1999s, to decide which cases to pursue, and then you create this ministerial multi-departmental committee that decide which cases to be prosecuted. I don't think, and I'm sorry to say for the victims and the families that has lost loved ones, that we will not see justice for these families. And it's sad. I actually, as a lawyer, feel sad that our justice system can be manipulated to such an extent.
I wonder if there is something to be said about what can happen concurrently, though, Elton. So let's suppose that this commission of inquiry does continue. Can you at the same time see the NPA then say, all right, they're going to pick up their case, pick up the pace in starting to go after or prosecute some of these cases? For instance, the Cradock 4, for instance, can still be looked into by the NPA while this commission of inquiry is taking place, or is that something that's difficult to see?
They can do it. They can run parallel process to say, but now you know what they're doing first is now they first need to do an inquest to see if there's evidence that point that there was foul play, in order to decide was the Cradock 4, was there foul play in the killing of them, which we know that they were killed because that was the work of the security branches or the security branch back then. But now they need to do an inquest, similar what happened with the Amo Timol case, what happened with that Simelani case, what happened to the Agat case. So all these cases, now it takes time to actually gather the evidence. And then you have a change of guard here with the NPA. Now you might just get one of these people that meddled in the that era of 2003 to 2007 in the TRC cases from a political stance. And the late Jackie Silebi was one of those commissioners from SEPS who strongly opposed these TRC cases to be pursued, because he fought with Bulelani, not with Vusi Pikoli, about this. So if you get a person that somehow might be implicated, or he has an interest in a person that might be implicated, if we get a new NDPP, then these cases will go down another 20 years not being in front of court. I mean, that guy, Anton Rousseau Ackerman, they accused him of being apartheid co-conspirator when he tried to pursue these cases, and he wanted to really pursue. They didn't give him investigators. So there was like resources and stuff that, and that time we could not even say it was the apartheid government that was doing these things to withhold resources, because it was after 1994. We had the new ANC-led government, or the newly democratic elected government, and still they did not give the money to this the priority crime litigation unit to actually investigate these TRC cases so that we can actually bring closure to these families. So it was our own people that sort of have put a brakes on the TRC cases.
Yeah, there is also the fact that, you talk about going all the way back to 2004, but there is the issue that we're talking about events that unfolded more than 30 years ago. And so there is a concern around where there's a family, let's suppose, for instance, the Kalata family of Cradock 4, and I'm making an example here, concerned that, where there is accountability, people have died in that time, right? And that the longer it takes, the more difficult it is to actually see the prosecution of those cases.
No, indeed, because remember, that guy, Adrian Flock, he was also that other Van der Merwe guy who killed a number of people, not just, and they were sentenced to like 10 years, wholly suspended. Now, for me, that is not justice already, because they opened that gate. And obviously, with the time passing, the witnesses also dies that could say that the Cradock 4 was abducted by people looking X, Y, and Z. So the witnesses also. So now the prosecution's task becomes just more difficult. And yes, they want to now say there's delays in the prosecution of the case. But from where I sit, there was never delays in the prosecution. It was political interference that actually hindered, that actually stopped. And back then, Vusi Pikoli received a letter from the then Minister of Justice, which is we know, if you go look on the timelines, who it is, that gave him a direct instruction to say, stop all these investigations. So if you are one that comes from the apartheid struggle, you struggled, and you know that our brothers and sisters died for us to have freedom today, You would want to get to the bottom of it. Why would you tell the National Director of Public Prosecution to stop these things? And that, for me, is the sore point. So this commission of inquiry that the president is going to cost the taxpayer money. We might get bits and pieces like these guys that went to the TRC, even the pardon that was created under President Mbeki. They still lied at these commissions, not giving us the truth as to what happened to these people really. So do we think that this commission of inquiry is going to help us? In any event, it might just open up another can of worms and another round of political meddling. And people talk about state capture, but I think state capture also happened here, where this part of the criminal justice system was also captured in what cases, if you have money, if you got influence, you are not being prosecuted. And obviously, that fabricated story that Advocate Ackerman wanted to prosecute 37 members of the then ANC leadership. So all these things, I don't think it will bring us closer to finding the truth of what happened to these people that died. As sad as it is, that's just where we're in, and I don't know how we will be able to untangle this unless they allow the families maybe to start private prosecutions of individuals that is alleged to have committed these heinous crimes back then.
Sure. I want to squeeze this in before I let you go, because the president, of course, announcing that they are intending on the next step, of course, is announcing who will head up the Commission of Inquiry. Perhaps a list of 3 things that, if this inquiry is going to be impactful, 3 things that it has to be able to do.
Obviously, for me, there should be short timelines. The witnesses should have been lined up, and we shouldn't waste time. And then the commission, the terms of reference of this commission is that once the commission makes a recommendation, the NPA must be given a mandate to prosecute each and every case, not to decide, can we prosecute? Obviously, the commission must make sure whatever they refer to the NPA, there's sufficient evidence looking at it prima facie that you can actually guarantee a conviction. Yes, there would be things that comes out that would hurt families, but they must give cases that would, and I would have gone back to that guy called Anton Rousseau Ackerman to say, you had 11 cases that you felt had merits in them. Is your witnesses still alive? Which ones is those? And start with those ones.
Yeah. All right, Elton. We'll watch what happens next. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. Elton Hart, there, legal expert, speaking to us there around the announcement that the president is intending to establish a commission of inquiry to look at why there have been delays in the prosecution of TRC cases.